This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, the Auburn Tigers wrapped up the number one seed overall in the NCAA tournament. Kyle Rush, member of the next round covering Auburn, will join us right after this to talk about the number one overall seed Auburn. Guys, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get the Stingray Show rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate
that. No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside yet another edition of the Stingray Show. Heath, do we have an action-packed show talking in depth about Auburn?
Yeah, you know, Stephen, we've talked about this is the best time of the year.
Yeah.
You got the NFL draft on the horizon. The horizon's just around the corner. Major League Baseball's about to get ready to get going. NFL free agency. There's a run with the NFL playoffs. If you're an NHL fan, you know, NASCAR just got started, UFL, and the big dance.
Yes.
You know, we also got SEC baseball, softball, and the women's tournament, but we also got SEC spring football. This is the greatest time of year, but let's call it what it is. The big dance takes the cake, baby. It takes the cake. March Madness is only for one thing, and it's basketball, and we're going to talk about it today.
And last night, there was a buzzer beater by Alabama State securing their first ever trip to the NCAA tournament. Oh, and who do they get? The Auburn Tigers, the number one overall seed. And to talk about the Auburn Tigers as they come into this tournament losing 4 of their last 5, here is our guest this evening from the next round covering Auburn, Mr. Kyle Rush. Kyle, how are things with you on the eve of the NCAA tournament? Because the first round games start at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys. Excited to talk basketball, talk about this Auburn Tiger draw, the run, potential to make a run, and everything that goes along with Auburn basketball.
Hey, Kyle, how concerned should Auburn fans be, and how concerned are you about this team going into the NCAA tournament?
Oh, I'm extremely concerned. I mean, Jay Williams said that no team no team that's ever lost 3 out of their last 4 has ever gone on to win the national championship. And I found out another fact today: no team that's ever beaten Alabama State in the first round has ever won the national championship either. So the odds are really stacked against the Tigers. No, I'm 0% concerned. And let me tell you why. That stat, although it is correct, Auburn has lost 3 out of their last 4. They also clinched the hardest SEC regular season with 2 games left.
Yes.
14 SEC teams got into the NCAA tournament. Auburn pretty much had their way with almost all of them, racking up 16 quad 1 wins. Hey, you want me to give you another stat? No team that's ever had 16 quad 1 wins in the regular season has ever not won the national championship. You go back to Kansas, I believe in so I can't remember the exact year, but yeah, when they won 16 quad one games, I have zero worries, concerns. The only thing Auburn's got to do, they're the healthiest they've been in months, maybe since going back to the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You've had 2 games where you've shot under your average in a row. You got to get back to shooting. You got a good tune-up game against Alabama State. What an exciting finish that was.
Yeah.
And cool that 2 teams from Alabama get to kick off the NCAA tournament against each other.
Cal, I'm going to ask you this question, and there's a follow-up to it. What is the absolute worst game Auburn has played this entire season?
Probably the Florida game. I would imagine that was a game where I felt like the Florida game and Texas A&M were probably the two worst outputs, I think, of this team so far this year.
And in those 2 games, was there a common theme of why they lost?
Rebounding has been an issue, particularly giving up offensive rebounds. I don't take too much stock into the Texas A&M game. That's what they do best, and obviously that was the game right after the big emotional win to clinch the SEC regular season title right after you played Kentucky. But yeah, Auburn has a tendency to get beat at times on the boards. So that is definitely if you got to find a chink in the armor on this team, that's definitely one.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if Auburn has a defeat here in March, do you think that will be the reason they just ran into a team that just crashed the board so hard and, the offensive rebounds was just too much and the second chance points? Is that going to be the kryptonite to this team in the tournament, if there is any kryptonite?
Could be. I'm more concerned about a team that maybe gets hot from 3, even though Auburn defends the 3-point line really well. That UC San Diego team is a scary little team. I mean, I'm watching. If I'm Michigan, I'm nervous about that one.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a little bit more concerned because I can see teams get hot at this point in time of the year, and teams are out there running and gunning. Yeah, I could see rebounding being an issue, but I'm a little bit more concerned about just a team getting out there and being explosive. And if Auburn's still a little bit cold, can you shoot your way back into it? They got the guys, man. You got Dylan Cardwell, who loves to bang around. He's just got to get his head right. Janai's healthy now. He's going to get you, 12, 15 rebounds a game, especially in tournament season. These guys play tough when they play some of the top competition. You go back to that trip in Maui where they just dominated everybody they faced, and a lot of those guys are tournament teams. But I do see rebounding could possibly be something that could be an issue. You can't get beat, especially for second chance points.
So Kyle, let's just go on ahead and say, I believe all of us believe that Auburn is moving past Alabama State. No disrespect to them, but Auburn is just so much better. The next round, they would face either Louisville or Creighton. Break down Auburn matching up against either one of those teams.
So the Louisville matchup, to me, would be the better matchup, regardless of the fact that they're playing. They're from an hour away. I still think Auburn's going to travel no matter what. You got baseball going on that weekend too. I think, heck, they may turn Lexington into Auburn North. Like there's going to be there's going to be a pile of Auburn fans in Lexington this weekend. So I'm not necessarily worried about the crowd. What I look at when I look at teams that I feel like Auburn really matches up well with are teams that are dominated, teams that dominate with their guards, teams that are guard focused. Because, like Bruce said, I'm not going to repeat the language, but Auburn's guards aren't, we're going to say wussies. They're not wussies. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And anytime you're guard focused, I feel like Auburn's got the advantage because Auburn's guards, they guard. They play defense, very physical. They frustrate guys that like space to shoot. They run guards off the 3-point line. They force it inside. They force the ball inside to the bigs, and then you're hoping Dillon and Chaney and Broome, hang in there. So I like the matchup with Louisville. They're very guard focused, and I think Auburn's guards can shut them down. Creighton, I can't remember how to say Kalkbrenner, I think is his last name.
Yeah.
He's true 7-footer. Now to me, in watching him, he's more of a finesse 7-footer. He's not really a super physical. He's only like, what, 230 pounds, I think. So even though he's got the height advantage, is he big enough is he really going to be a threat to exploit that weakness that Auburn has at times in the rebounding battle? I think he's much more of an offensive threat than he is really being just a crashing the boards type 7-foot center. So, but that is a big man. That is a big man that you got to worry about. And then they got a little guard too that can shoot. So honestly, I think I'm not so sure that Louisville even gets past the first round. I think Creighton probably comes out of that one with the win. And Creighton could pose a little bit more difficult of a matchup to me for Auburn than Louisville, just based off of what we just talked about. The propensity to get beat on the boards. And they do have a true big man that plays 35 minutes a game that can score.
Kyle, looking at this Auburn team, it was just stacked, loaded, and super talented. So was the team last year. And, we know what happened. And I've said it on this show. I've said it for years. The SEC champion usually does very poor in the big dance. I can give you more than a dozen examples of that. So with that, last year, was it just one of those things, just too tired, the short turnaround, the travel? Was that the reason Auburn went out early last year?
I'm going to say it was Chad Baker-Mazara leaving that game early because of a stupidity on his part.
Yeah. I would – look, I know the old adage, one player can't make a team, but the importance –
in basketball.
In basketball it can. And the importance that Chad plays on this team, and I think that whole situation, it was sort of like a shell shock. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's right out of the gate. You got a flagrant 2, and now you have to completely scrap your whole game plan. And Yale, man, they're a scrappy team. You might have a chance to face them again and get a little revenge. To me, that was more that singular situation than it was like a long symptom of an illness that showed its head in that particular game. Chad walks a line, man. You have to have him walking that line to get. I call him Rad Chad. You got to have Rad Chad. You can't have, bad Chad or sad Chad. You got to have the guy that's going to walk that fine line between intensity and going over the line.
Right.
That's just who he is. He
Too
can't
bad
play.
Chad
He can't
didn't
play
in the
mellow.
Pad in Ole Miss back in the day, but that's another story. That's another Dr. Seuss book.
Yes, sir. But no, go ahead.
So, Kyle, I would also say that Chad cost Auburn the last regular season win at home against Alabama because he was kicked out of that game as well for an elbow to the back of the head.
Yeah. He and Youngblood have had some bad blood. They had some battles back in the first matchup. I think Chad got a technical there when Youngblood kind of carried him out of bounds, and as he's fallen, he did take a swipe. But I'm definitely not knocking that. But they go at each other, and he made a very, very dumb mistake. And Auburn, hey, even though you lose your best player midway through the second half, Auburn still had a shot to win the game there at the end against a very, very talented Alabama team who had a lot more to play for, in my opinion, than Auburn in that particular scenario.
Yes.
Kyle, let's talk about the good things of Auburn. I think last year's loss in the tournament, I think that's being talked about and thought about in a good way. Let's don't do that again, guys. I think these last few losses here to wrap up the season has been talked about too much by the media, and I think that's a good thing for Auburn.
Yeah.
So with that, look, this team is loaded. It is stacked. It is talented, and you've got the best coach in college basketball. Let's just call it what it is. Bruce Pearl's the best coach in college basketball. Take that, Hurley. But anyway, with that being said, this team is, I think, primed for a run. Where am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I'm with you, and I thought the same thing last year. What is the formula to win games and go deep in the tournament? And to me, it's experience, guards that can shoot the basketball. Those teams seem go the furthest. And Auburn has essentially a whole roster full of them. And then you got a little young gun who loves the bright lights. Now, he didn't play well against Tennessee, but typically whenever it's time to shine, typically when you're on primetime TV, Tahad Pettiford likes to show his skill set. You got, Denver, Miles, Chad, Tahad, all shooting above 37% from three. They all have the experience. To me, that's, and then you got the bigs. You can't talk about Auburn and not talk about Jani Broome. I just think guards are the tournament is a guard tournament, and Auburn seems they got the makeup of all the great teams that make runs, in my opinion. So now you just got to go do it.
So, Kyle, my final question for you is not about Auburn. Yale is facing another SEC team, and Texas A&M is very streaky, and at times they are not good. Do you see Yale upsetting another SEC team in back-to-back NCAA tournaments?
They very well could. I mean, that is I think they just won their conference tournament.
They did.
They're very, like you said, they can be scary. Auburn can attest. And I could easily see, Texas A&M gets to the point sometimes where they're just like, we can't score, so we're just going to rely on being more physical to get us to the finish line. And I think you still got to be able to score the basketball in this tournament to be able to be, super effective, to be able to get to that next, survive and advance.
Right.
And, that line's only 7.5. So it's not like they're just heavy favorites, 4 over a 13. So I would imagine that game, Yale probably plays that a lot like they played Auburn last year. Just hang around, hit your shots, get to the line, and eventually, maybe you can sneak and take the lead, hit a big shot late. It's going to be a scary game for Texas A&M.
It just kind of seems like that A&M goes off of Wade Taylor. If Wade Taylor is struggling, the entire team does not know what to do. If he is playing well, then, hey, we can all play well. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, they're mega Wade Taylor heavy.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of only 2 players that average double figures, and he's a good one. And he can fill it up, and he can fill it up in bunches. So I agree with you. Hey, if you can take Wade Taylor out, which is a tall task in and of itself, who's going to step up? Who's going to be that guy to carry Texas A&M? Again, I think you nailed it. If Texas A&M goes as Wade Taylor goes.
Yeah.
There you go. Cal, fun question. What dark horse from the SEC do you have going far in this tournament? Mine's Missouri. I think Missouri is a matchup nightmare for anybody. But also, Missouri is not the perfect team. They have matchups that go very negative against them as well. But I don't see too many of those teams. So I got Missouri as my dark horse. Who is your SEC dark horse to make a run in this tournament?
Yeah, I've looked at a lot. I've looked at the bracket like as just about as much as you possibly can. I like the way Georgia is playing basketball right now. And to me, they could get a team in Houston in that second round where Houston is great, but they're beatable. Auburn beat them. Alabama beat them.
Texas Tech.
The SEC, I think Georgia's won they've won 4 out of their last 5 or something like that. They're playing good basketball, and you got a big man who's a lottery pick and some other good pieces around it. I think Georgia could be a sneaky Sweet 16 team there and maybe take down Houston. You got to get past Gonzaga in the first round, who they don't really have the Gonzaga resume, or that's not the Gonzaga team of, 3 or 4 years ago, or really any other year. It's just a completely different type of Gonzaga team that you see. But Georgia is I got them in my Sweet 16. So that's a team I think could possibly make a run.
So, Kyle, when you look at the other ones or the 2 seeds, which one out there do you feel like could give Auburn the most fits? And let me just go on ahead and make a prediction. Do you feel like that is Michigan State?
And before you answer that, Kyle, I'll state this, Stephen. There's always either a 1 or 2 seed that doesn't make the Sweet 16. And I think one year, I think it's happened once in the last 20-something years that all 1 and 2 seeds. So I'm with you, Stephen. One of them's not going to make it.
Yeah. Anytime Tom Izzo in the tournament, you're nervous about, even if you feel like you got a better team. So Auburn got they are the number 3 2 seed. So that's not that bad, but still, Tom Izzo in the tournament, you feel like that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't. St. John's is exciting. They're an exciting team to watch. But I would be a little bit more concerned. I'm a little bit more concerned about Michigan State if we're just talking about 2 seeds on our side than the other. And then obviously Florida to me is just a really bad matchup for Auburn. I think Auburn can beat Florida, but man, they're tough and they may be playing the best basketball in the country right now. So that's a little bit unfortunate.
Said that on this show.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but hey, you know what? It's not like you're not going to play tough teams in the tournament. So you gotta buckle up. I don't guess you got to buckle up. You got to tie your shoes tight and get ready to go.
So Kyle, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
How far in your bracket do you have the Auburn Tigers going this tournament?
I mean, if it's my bracket, I probably have them going to the I think Elite 8. Okay. But hey, they have the ability to do it all. They have the ability to go all the way. I would love to catch Michigan or Texas A&M in the Sweet 16 game. I think that's a really good, either one of those, believe it or not, even with a loss to Texas A&M are good matchups for Auburn. I think they can shut down Wade Taylor the second go around. I'd love to get them in the Sweet 16. I think Auburn has a pretty, I don't want to say easy, but they have a pretty good pathway to the Elite 8. And then to me after that, it's a crapshoot. So they got the ability, they got the talent to do the whole thing. But I'd be happy with anything beyond the Sweet 16.
Gotcha. So Kyle, look, man, enjoy covering the Auburn Tigers this weekend and moving forward. Let's plan to catch up next week as we could discuss the Auburn Tigers in their next round matchup in the Sweet 16. And we will catch up with you later on. And I will say this, much to the chagrin of the Alabama faithful here, but we are an SEC show. War Eagle. Let's go Auburn.
Love it, man. War Eagle.
Wow, Stephen, you probably just got fired, but okay.
Hey, we were asked to be on the radio show here due to us being an SEC show. And so, hey, we are an SEC show, and we're going to say War Eagle every time we have an Auburn person on.
Love it. Love it. Thank y'all for having me. It's kind of fun to come on and talk about basketball.
Thank you.
There you go.
So, Heath, that is going to wrap up the Auburn preview of this tournament. And when we come back, we're going to talk about maybe one of the hottest teams in the SEC, Graham Hall of 247 Sports, the Gators, will join us to do a quick recap of Florida in the SEC tournament, and then to talk about how far Florida can go in March. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back to talk about the Florida Gators.
Stephen, line 1 for you. They want to talk about the terms of your contract. I think you're going home today. You might be getting fired.
Fake news, fake news, fake news. So if you would like to check out the other preview shows for the NCAA tournament, we've got Florida, we've got Tennessee, and we've also got Texas A&M, and they are all located either below or above this video right here on YouTube and on Spotify.